We love modular buildings in this household because we've got a lot of the Lego modulars, we've got some of the Marvel modulars, and we have our own custom modular. So each summer, when Lego announces new sets, we know we're not getting an actual modular building. But I do enjoy seeing these announcements because even though some of them aren't modular compatible right out of the box, they can be, at least a handful, can be modified into custom modulars. So in this video, I'm going to break down 3 summer releases that I think have really strong modular potential. Before we discuss specific sets, I'm going to let you know what I'm looking for in a potential modular building. The first one is that it has to be a building because, well, we're trying to create buildings and it's hard to create modulars out of vehicles, planes, ships, cars, mechs, and other types of sets. So it's hard to really get what you need out of those. The second is that it does have to have some significant exterior details. It doesn't work to put a very plain looking building into your modular city unless you have a lot of other plain buildings. And if you've been buying actual Lego modulars, that's really not the case. The third thing is it does need to come with quite a few pieces, and good pieces, bricks, modified bricks, tiles, windows, and large plates that you can use for different levels. Now for each of these sets, I'm going to not only talk about their potential, but mention some of the weaknesses and how these could work in practicality. Our first candidate is the comic book and game shop from the Friends theme. Now, this line of sets is not a stranger to potential modulars. You had the Main Street from a couple of years ago, the Downtown Flower and Design Shops, the Botanical Gardens, and even the Castle Bed and Breakfast from last year. In fact, we've even modularized the Downtown Flower and Design Shop from a couple years ago into a couple of modular buildings in our city. So this does have, as a theme, some potential. This particular set, though, has some nice features to it that could lend itself to modularity. What I find interesting is that the main building is a corner, which allows you to have some flexibility in your city, because I know in ours, we always run out of corners. The main section is about 20 studs wide, which is actually pretty solid for modular capabilities because of the sidewalk space that you can use and that you need for your modular building. Now, what about the exterior details? Well, there's quite a bit here that I think is helpful for modularizing this set. You've got a nice circular border and framing around the large windows on the main level, both on the left and the right. The asymmetry there also, I think, draws your eye in. It might be a bit cheesy, but the game controller on the second level really pops and is a nice decoration on the exterior. Plus, there are plenty of windows with profile bricks on that same second level. But what I really enjoy, perhaps my favorite aspect of the set, is that the roof uses some nice techniques with the 1x1 round tiles with bars and the snotted cheese slopes. It really does look like a professionally done roof line. As a corner building, this could take the other shop, the slushy bar or whatever it is, and move it to the other side, which would actually make it reminiscent of the brick bank, which had the bank and then the laundromat there on the right-hand side. This could function similarly to get that additional length on the other side of the corner, about 20 studs on each, which again would be pretty good for a corner building with plenty of sidewalk space. I also think there's some excellent exterior details for the slushy bar, including the candle pieces as framing and some nice windows. I do think having that rooftop seating area is nice, although you would definitely want to add a level or two to the slushy bar. As a bonus, there are some strong interior details to this set, including lots of tiles on the floor, new printed version of the Helion shield, although this one has an alicorn, and 2 unique plushies for those of you who are into such things, like my youngest daughter. Now, how practical would it be to actually modularize this? Well, I think you would definitely want to take that slushy bar and move it to the right-hand side. I think that the set does do a good job of providing lots of tiles, modified bricks, tons of windows, and large plates. So if you were going to layer some floors, I think you've got a lot to work with there. I think the question is, do you need to get 2 copies of this set? And that leads me to some of the weaknesses of this as a potential modular. It comes with some bricks, but not a lot. And when we customized the Downtown Flower and Design Shop, one thing that I noticed is that the lack of bricks makes it very difficult to close up the building as a modular. This one as a corner might be helped out because you only have to close 2 walls off, but you need a lot of bricks, and the colors for this really don't fit great into a modular city or the color of buildings that we see in traditional Lego modulars. So it would definitely stand out from that perspective unless you had other buildings, maybe from the Friends line, that fit in reasonably well with it. The other issue is if you buy 2 copies of this set, I'm not sure it really gets you a lot in terms of allowing you to close the building off. You really just get a lot of extra windows and modified bricks and not the pieces you might need to actually close it off. Now, one thing that would be, I think, helpful for this is, for a second copy, is to add to the slushy bar. It's just very, very short and you want to have that height. One possibility to solve this problem would be to take the drive-through window or whatever, the walk-up window that they have on the side, and add that to the second level and find some way to close that side off with bricks. But if you don't have a lot of bricks of that color, it's going to look pretty awkward. So this one does have some potential, but I'm thinking the other ones might actually work even better. So let's move on. Our second candidate is the Spider-Man versus Oscorp. Now, the Marvel theme is no stranger to modular buildings because they even have the Marvel modulars with the Daily Bugle, the Sanctum Sanctorum, Avengers Tower, and the X-Mansion. So this one would fit in, in a line that could work for non-official modular buildings, and the 3 different facades and the piece count, I think, really help shape this one as a potential modular building. So let's examine some of those exterior details. The 3 unique facades, I think, helps because you can arrange them in different ways, and we'll talk more about the practicality of that in just a moment. This also could work as a corner building. In fact, I would prefer that because the jewelry shop and the Oscorp Tower are 28 studs wide, so it's pretty sizable that way, and you might need to reconfigure the buildings to make it work. Now, there is, on the jewelry store, really nice color combination with the red-brown and the tan, and then the dark blue trim on that first level. The dark tan from the door, notice that it carries up to the bow slope immediately above the door. The dark red and the blue combination on the second level works extremely well, and note that you've got some details with the windows with the 1x2 modified plate with the bar, and then the door rail on the underside as window trim, which is a very nice detail. Notice also that this has an AC unit, which fits in well with other modular buildings, and check out the roofing detail, which is very solid. You've got these arches that pop out and the Nexonite shield, which reminds me of the Grand Emporium modular building. Of course, the details don't stop there. If you move on to the Oscorp building, you will notice we've got plenty of windows, a nice height. You've got the light blade trim in snot techniques going up the side, and then you've got this dark blade angular tiles that continues to move up the building using snot techniques. They also have the trans light green accents, which I think really pops from the dark blade and the black of this building. There's a lot of potential when it comes to this one as well. Now, the mini mart is solid, but it's probably the weakest of the 3. Perhaps my favorite component of this is the flower box at that second level window, but there are some other nice details like, again, another AC unit and the color combination. You also get the yellow dumpster with the black top that we see in all of the Marvel modulars as well, which is a nice continuity from those sets. In terms of practicality, I would rearrange the order of these buildings, put the mini mart to the left, the Oscorp Tower, and then turn this into a corner. So moving that jewelry store to the right-hand side of the modular building. And this, I think, would allow better dimensions for a modular. Instead of being 28 studs across, leaving very little room for a sidewalk, it would be closer to like 22 to 24, which works much, much better for a modular building, allowing room for that sidewalk. I do like the prospects of making it a corner building, but I do think you're going to have to add quite a bit to this, meaning that you might have to get a second copy if you want to get these pieces efficiently. So the Jewelry store might work on its own. You might be able to add an additional level to that. The mini mart, though, definitely needs help. And the Oscorp tower, to make it a really good corner, you might have to rearrange the 2 copies that you have to really make that work, to have a dynamic presence on the corner. I think it's doable with 2 copies, but it's going to take a little bit of work and some problem solving to accomplish that. The set does come with plenty of windows, large plates, some modified bricks, and some bricks, which I think is going to help you turn that into a modular building, and the color combinations are much, much more reminiscent of actual modular buildings than the comic book and game shop. In terms of weaknesses, there really aren't that many tiles. You'll notice that on the interior, there's not a lot of detailing on the floors, which, if that matters to you, is going to be an important component. If you don't like to use tiles for the interior, using them on the exterior as part of the pattern of the sidewalk can help as well. And again, you don't get a whole lot for that. Another significant weakness is you're going to have to problem solve this one more than I think the first set that we talked about on this list. And finally, the cost is going to be a significant problem. I think this is $140 US for 800 or so pieces. That's not a good price to piece ratio, and it's not like you get a ton of minifigs for it. So I think that price is going to be pretty prohibitive to modularizing this. Because if you think about it, if you get 2 copies, that's going to be $280 US, and you're probably going to have to add some pieces from your own collection just to smooth things out, base plates, sidewalk tiles, even some staircases and large plates perhaps, to get those levels to work right. So there's going to be a lot. This is going to be an expensive modular building if you go this route. Before we get to our last candidate, I do want to give an honorable mention, and that is the Creator 3-in-1 Haunted Mansion. Now, I'm not talking about this particular set in this video because we did do a breakdown of this specific set earlier, and so I want to link to that up here so you can check that one out, because we do talk about how you could modularize that one. But I do want to let you know that is a very, very good modular possibility. Our third and final modular candidate in this video that we'll talk about is the Plant Cafe and Flower Shop. Yes, we are going back to the Friends line because, let's be honest, they're crushing it. And every January and summer, they do a fantastic job of giving us some very, very intriguing potential modular sets. So what makes this one such a good candidate for modularity? Well, let's dive into that exterior. This one is the most detailed of the exteriors that we've talked about in this video. You've got these green window frames with lime green inserts that form the base. You've got some large windows above that open areas. I like that. These are framed by using snot techniques to put white plates and tiles around them, and each side has some white arches that protrude from the wall that on the left supports a green awning, and on the right, some green and purple foliage. This vibrancy really helps it to pop out, and definitely would be an eye catcher even in your modular city. The double doors are a nice touch, but even going up from that, the sign is really nicely done, even though it's a sticker. Then you get the stained glass windows, and on top of that, you get this wonderful arch detailing with snakes, white snakes, and then you get the stained glass windows for the skylights. It's an absolutely wonderful detail that really pops out in my mind. And then you've got the skylights on either side of that that are angled. So a great detailing there for this particular set. Even the outdoor eating area is nice and can be used in a modular style set. So for instance, the Parisian restaurant has that outdoor eating area that's framed in by some fencing. You could do something similar with this, and I think it would work really well. Even the side builds can be incorporated into your modular city. You have the little trolley, which could go up and down your streets, or you could have a separate trolley line. The other flower kiosk could actually be used as a kiosk like the corner kiosk, that gift with purchase that was available in January with the Tudor corner. We made a promenade in our city that incorporated that corner kiosk, and you can do something similar for this one. So every part of the set is very useful. What about the practicality of modularizing this? I think one of the challenges you would have to overcome is that it's 28 studs wide, which doesn't really fit nicely with that 32 wide standard that we see with modular buildings. Now, one possibility is that on the side that has that bay window, you could extend the bay, or just go out the 32 studs with a flower garden and set something up nicely there to then tie into the next modular building. So a little bit of a way to look out on that, or maybe even having an eating area there, wrapping around the side of the building, maybe even to the back. So that's one way to solve that problem. You also get in this set a lot of windows. You get some great bricks, modified bricks, arches, and it's large plates. I think it would work really well for modular building. Now you get also a lot of tiles. If you check out the interior, they tile that floor very, very nicely. So I think that would work rather well. This is a set that I think definitely would fit well next to the Ideas Botanical Garden if you modularize that, because it does fit that style, and I think is going to work well next to a shorter building. Now, in terms of how to get this closed off on the back, I think the simplest thing, honestly, double it. Now, I think if you got 2 copies, you could just put them back to back and it would work reasonably well. You'd have to make some modifications, maybe take an eating area out in the back, but I think by and large, it would work because you've got plenty of support from the columns on the back side of the building, and you could have that double door in the back open up to that eating area or some sort of garden. I think it would look really good that way, and you would keep it short, which might be a problem for you, but I think it would work reasonably well. Of course, we've already kind of mentioned the main weakness of this, which is it's going to be really short, and it may not work entirely well in your modular city if you want 2- and 3-story buildings. But I think it can work well. I'd be willing to modularize this by getting 2 copies and placing it next to the Ideas Botanical Garden. So each year we make it a goal to build a custom modular building, whether it is one from our own design or taking an existing set that's not modular and customizing it and upgrading it into a modular building. We've done this with the family reunion celebration, Chinese Lunar New Year set. We did it with the Friends Downtown Flower and Design Shop, and last year we built our own custom modular music shop. This year, these 3 sets do give us some potential modularity. And out of the 3, my favorite is definitely the cafe and flower shop from the Friends line. I think it would be the easiest to modularize and still looks the best out of the 3. Now, which one of these is your favorite? Comment down below. Is there another summer release that you think would be really good as a modular building and has some potential? Again, put it down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe so you see more of our summer 2025 set breakdowns. And always remember to keep building together.